You think you can leave me and my son and live to tell the story? There was something odd and mysterious about him. No one knew exactly what happened to the 6 ladies he had married, as suspected that his mother, Iya Olu, was evil, a witch who ate her daughters-in-law. He asked for my hand in marriage. Be careful, Abike. You know what they said about Olumide? I see. You are both jealous that I will get married before you. Her eyes glowing. Please, don't do this to me. Suddenly, Abike heard a rustling sound. As she turned, she saw a giant snake slithering towards her. Abike let out a scream of pure terror. Please, don't be scared, the snake spoke in a soft, feminine voice. It looks like wicked mother-in-law has turned yet another poor bride. Abike's eyes widened in shock and confusion. How was this snake able to talk? And what did it mean by Iya Olu turning another bride? Who are you and what's going on here? Abike managed to stammer out, still trembling with fright. My name is Jumoke, the snake replied calmly. I too was once married to that devil, Olumide. But unlike the blissful marriage I expected, his evil mother, Iya Olu, brought me out to this forest on my very wedding night and cursed me, transfiguring my body into the form of a snake. Abike's jaw dropped as the gravity of Jumoke's words hit her. So the horrible rumors about Olumide and his family were true after all. You were one of Olumide's previous wives? The huge serpent nodded in agreement. Indeed, and I am not the only one, my friend. There are 5 other poor women just like us, all former brides of Olumide, who have been cursed and transformed into snakes by the evil Iya Olu. Tears filled Abike's eyes as the full realization set in. She had ignored all the warning from Omaomi, Bose and Bimpe. They had tried to tell her about the danger she was walking into by marrying Olumide, but her stubborn pride wouldn't listen. Now she was paying the ultimate price as a victim of Iya Olu's sadistic witchcraft. Please take me to the others, Abike said in a small voice. Jumoke gave a small nod and turned to slither deeper into the forest. After a moment of hesitation, Abike's strange new serpent body began to follow the larger serpent's lead. Finally, they entered a small clearing where the 5 other massive serpents lay coiled up. As Abike and Jumoke entered the space, the other serpent turned to face them with a series of hisses. Jumoke let out a calming shriek, causing them to relax. Sisters, I have brought another, the large serpent said. Another unfortunate bride, cursed by the hand of Iya Olu, just as we all were. One by one, the snakes began to speak in soft feminine voices, introducing themselves all as former wives of Olumide before falling victim to Iya Olu's transformation curses. The 7 women spent long days and nights consoling one another and plotting ways to potentially reverse the curses that had bound them to this unnatural form. But with each new sunrise, their hopes waned, along with their memories of life as humans. Meanwhile, back in Ole village, Abike's friends, Bose and Bigbe, sat idly in the front of one of their family huts, catching up on the latest gossip and news of their small community. Have you happened to see Abike at all recently? Bigbe asked. It's been months since her wedding, and I haven't seen her at the market or at the river at all. Bose shook her head slowly, a slight frown seizing her face. No, come to think of it, I haven't laid eyes on her since her marriage to Olumide. That's rather odd, isn't it? The 2 young women stopped and sat in silence for a long moment, wailing an unspoken concern hanging in the air between them. You don't think something could have happened to her, do you? Bigbe finally ventured in a low voice. Bose didn't reply immediately. I hope she's doing okay over there. We may not have parted on the best of terms before her wedding, but she's still our friend. Despite how Abike had lashed out at them, accusing them of jealousy during her wedding preparations, they couldn't simply abandon her if she was in some kind of trouble. They instantly decided they needed to pay her a visit to check on her well-being. Bose and Bimpe set off down the dusty path towards the house Abike now shared with her husband on the outskirts of the village. When they arrived, Olumide's mother, Iya Olu, emerged from the house, zeroing on them with a stern look. Abike is resting and has instructed that she's not to be disturbed. You will just have to call again another day, Iya Olu said as she dismissed the ladies. As the two young women made their ways back towards the hut of Ole, a strange sound reached their ears. Do you hear that? Bose whispered, straining to make out the murmuring tones. It almost sounds like human voices from the forest. Digby frowned, shaking her head slowly. That can't be. No one would be foolish enough to go wandering in those woods, not after all the stories. A new series of whispers reached them clearly now, as if carried on a passing wind. Bose's eyes went wide. Those voices, don't you recognize one of them? It almost sounds like Abike. Bimpe grabs. Realization spreading all over her face as she heard the unmistakable cadence and timbre she knew so well. Without another word, the two broke into a cautious jog towards the forest edge. Fear and confusion warring with their desperation to find their friend. They made their way past the first few rows of trees, already regretting their impulse. After a few minutes of trekking, an incredibly strange and frightening sight came into view ahead. There, slithering closely across the uneven forest floor, was the largest snake either of them had ever seen. Bose and Bimpe froze in their tracks, terror rooting them to the spot. As they turned to flee back the way they came, the gigantic snake suddenly spoke in a very familiar voice. Please, my friends, it is me, Abike. Bose and Bimpe whisked back around in utter despair. Abike? They stammered, gaping in horror at the monstrous reptile. It is me, the snake continued, in their friend's unmistakable tone. I have been cursed and turned into this creature against my will. Abike then proceeded to tell them in heartbreaking detail everything that had happened to her since marrying Olumide. How her mother-in-law Iya Olu was an evil witch who took delight in trapping and transforming her son's new brides. Abike tearfully revealed that there were 6 other former wives of Olumide who had been similarly cursed and turned into giant snakes, all held captive here in this forest prison. She begged her 2 friends to find a way to break this dark magic and restore not just her, but all of them back to their human forms before it was too late. Bose and Bimpe were utterly stunned into silence as they processed Abike's unbelievable story, their minds racing. But the desperation and torment in their friend's voice made it impossible to doubt her words. They knew right there that they had to find a way to save Abike and the other wives, no matter what. The 2 women knew there was only one person who possesses the knowledge and power to take on such immense supernatural endeavor. The powerful spiritualist named Baba Rumi, who lived in the remote village of Oke. With a quick goodbye and promise to Abike that they would return, Bose and Bimpe immediately set off towards Oke village. They arrived just as the sun was beginning to set over the valley, bathing Baba Rumi's small hut with an orange glow. They urgently called out for the spiritualist. Please, great and powerful Baba, you must hear our story, Bose implored desperately. We need your help to save our friend and others from an evil witch. and so the two women proceeded to tell Baba Romi everything. Baba Romi listened intently as the incredible story unfolded. When they had finally finished, "Your friend speaks the truth," he said in a solemn tone. "The wicked and selfish Iyaolu has been practicing these depraved rituals and sacrifices for many years to drain the youthful energy and beauty from her son's wives. She does this to unnaturally extend her own lifespan and accumulate more dark powers onto herself, while closely discarding the souls of these poor women. The only way to reverse these causes is through the performance of an equally powerful ritual, one that will require the snake's wives to be present." Baba Romi feasts Bose and Bimpe with an intense tale. "You must bring the snakes here to my shrine. I will perform the reversal ritual over the course of 7 days and nights to restore their original human bodies and soul. But I must warn you both, this will be an extremely perilous undertaking. Iyaolu is a powerful force of evil and would stop at nothing to maintain her causes and prevent the loss of her ill-gotten powers." Bose and Bimpe were terrified at the prospect of confronting such powerful dark forces. But the thought of their dear friend and the other poor women remaining trapped as snakes for eternity was even more horrifying. They knew they had to try, no matter what risks they might face. They thanked Baba Romi for his wisdom and guidance. They immediately headed towards Ole village. They didn't breathe a word of what they had learned to anyone, instead quietly gathering over a dozen of the village's strongest and bravest men to aid them. With the group of concerned men in tow, the two women led them back into the dense forest near the outskirts of the village. Working together, the men carefully lifted and carried the heavy snakes' bodies, following Bose and Bimpe's lead as they began the long journey towards Oke village, where Baba's shrine awaited. When they finally arrived, Baba already standing by the pit in his shrine, he instructed the men to carefully carry the 7 snakes into the pit. As the snakes' wives were carefully arranged, Baba began the ritual. He chanted in ancient unknown tongues, dancing around the pit. He warned that the snake ladies must remain undisturbed within the circle for the next 6 days and nights as he performed the reversal ritual. Finally, on the 7th morning, something mysterious happened. There in the center of the pit were not 7 giant snakes, but 7 extraordinarily beautiful ladies. "It worked," Bose exclaimed in disbelief, recognizing Abike among the 7. They had been restored. One by one, the former snake ladies began to stir and awaken, blinking in confusion at their new surroundings. When Abike saw her friends, she burst into tears of joy, pulling Bose and Bimpe into a tight embrace. "My dear friends, you saved us," she cried. "You risked everything for me. Even after how terribly I treated you, I will never be able to thank you enough." The other wives joined in the celebration. Words began to spread about the unbelievable event, eventually making it to the way of the council of the village elders. When they learned of the evil atrocities committed by Iyaolu against her own son's wives, they were beside themselves with disgust and anger. In their village, the practice of dark magic and witchcraft was strictly forbidden, especially when used to bring harm to others. According to their ancient laws and customs, the punishment for such transgression was severe. Any witch caught using her evil powers was to be publicly disgraced, humiliated, and ultimately burned alive as judgment. Despite her desperate pleas for mercy, when the council warriors descended upon her, Iyaolu's fate was swiftly carried out. She was disgraced and burnt alive at the center of Ole's village square. As for Iyaolu's son, Olumide, he was banished from Ole village into the same deadly forest where his mother had imprisoned the souls of his wives over the years. Olumide was never seen or heard from again. In the aftermath, the 7 former snake's wives were welcomed back into Ole with open hands. They settled back into the village life, finding joy in their redemption and new appreciation for their existence after so many years trapped in an unimaginable nightmare. Abike in particular formed an unbreakable bond with her 2 friends who had risked everything. This story is an example of the enduring power of true friendship, even when it is tested by hurtful words, and this in the time of strife and weakness. In the end, Bose and Bigbe's love for their friend triumphed over jealousy, judgment, and anger. It also shows the importance of thoroughly checking potential spouses and their family background before making such a permanent commitment. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next story. Bye.